Don't scroll away. What I'm about to say will shift everything you thought about being alone. My beloved child, you've carried more weight than anyone knows. You've stood in rooms full of people and still felt unseen. You've smiled when your heart was breaking. You've spoken strength while you were secretly running on empty. But I need you to hear me now. I was with you through it all. You did imagine, that gentle feeling that calmed your chest in the middle of the night. That wasn't chance. That was me reaching into your storm to steady you. When the world grew silent and your mind grew loud, I sat right beside you. I watched you whisper questions into your pillow, asking if anyone even noticed your pain, and I leaned in to hear every word. I was never distant. I was not waiting for you to be perfect before I showed up. I came into your chaos, into your loneliness, into your breaking point, because that's where my love always meets you first. The loud silence that haunted you was filled with my presence. Every shadow in your night, I lit with my unseen hand. I stood between you and what should have broken you. I whispered strength into your weariness. You thought you were walking alone, but I was matching your every step, even when your knees buckled under life's pressure. I was there, not once leaving, not once blinking. And now I am speaking with clarity you cannot ignore. You were never forgotten. I never missed a moment. I was there because you are mine. Child, I saw it. I saw every single drop fall down your face when no one was around. I heard the broken sentences you spoke into empty air, thinking they vanished. But not one cry was missed. I collected every tear not as reminders of your weakness, but as evidence of your strength, your endurance, your faith even when it felt shaky. You thought no one cared. You assumed your pain was invisible. But I was marking every sigh like a sacred offering. I never dismissed your heaviness. I never looked away from your battle. While others saw your surface, I saw your soul trembling and still choosing to press forward. Those tears were not a sign of failure, they were your language of surrender. They were your prayers when words wouldn't come. They rose to me like incense, and I responded with a covering, a comfort, a promise to not let you drown in what overwhelmed you. You are not forgotten. You are not unimportant. You are not just surviving. You are rising because I have been responding, healing, working behind the veil while you cried in silence. This is your confirmation. Those nights of brokenness were not in vain. I'm turning every tear into a testimony, and what once brought you sorrow will soon speak of my glory. My child, in those moments when everything inside you felt like it was collapsing, when the fight to get out of bed felt heavier than any burden outside, you wondered if you were even valuable anymore. You measured your worth by how much you could produce, by how much others praised you, by how strong you looked on the surface. And when the applause faded, when the tasks outnumbered your strength, and when your own inner voice began to echo with words like "not enough," I stayed. I didn't back away when you couldn't lift your head. I didn't leave when your prayers grew quiet. I stepped closer. I put myself between your aching soul and the lies that tried to consume you. While you were busy blaming yourself for being weak, I was standing as your shield, deflecting what was meant to break your spirit. You didn't see the danger that tried to grip your mind. You didn't realize how much darkness tried to slip in unnoticed. But I saw it and I guarded you fiercely. I didn't protect you because you earned it. I did it because I chose you long before you even knew to choose me. You questioned your value because the weight on your shoulders made you forget the worth I placed inside you. You tried to find meaning in achievements, but I've always seen your value in simply being mine. There was not a single second where I loosened my grip on your life. Even when you questioned my presence, I was still wrapping my arms around your heart, keeping you intact when it felt like the inside of you was unraveling. You never lost me, even when you felt lost within yourself. I know every crack in your foundation. I know every place that trembles when storms hit. That's why I've surrounded you with my peace, not as a temporary fix, but as a permanent reminder that you are not defined by your performance. You are defined by my protection. What others don't see, I do. What you forget, I remember. And what feels like weakness in you, I see a sacred dependence. That's when I move the most, not when you impress me, but when you collapse in my arms. You've been measuring your worth by the wrong standard. I never asked you to be perfect. I only asked you to remain close. And because you're still here, still breathing, still hoping, still trying, you are already proof that I have never let go. Don't believe the whispers telling you you're too broken, too far gone, too empty. You're exactly where I need you to be: open, honest, human. That's where my strength lives. That's where my grace breathes. And that's where I begin to rebuild what you thought was lost forever. You are not disqualified. You are not a mistake. You are not an afterthought. You are protected, pursued, and deeply preserved because I am still standing guard over your soul. You may have questioned your value, but I never have. I place something eternal inside you, and no storm can steal it. So rise, child, not by your own strength, but by the love that's been holding you all along. I have never, and will never, let go. You mistook my silence for distance, but I was never closer than when you heard nothing. My precious one, I know what you felt in those long, drawn-out days where you begged for a sign and heard none. You prayed with sincerity. You waited with expectation. And then, the silence. No loud miracles. No dramatic rescue. Just stillness. And so you began to question, have you left me, Lord? I heard your heart whisper that doubt, even though your lips never spoke it aloud. But listen closely, my stillness has never been the same as my absence. While your eyes searched for movement, I was working within. While your ears strained for an answer, I was wrapping my arms around your soul, holding your pieces together so the weight wouldn't crush you. Silence is not neglect. Stillness is not abandonment. In fact, it was in those very moments when you felt the most alone that I was pressed in nearer than you realized. I was shielding you from what you didn't know was forming behind the curtain. I was working details in divine precision, not rushing them but aligning them in perfection. But I also knew you needed a silence that drew your spirit to lean on me, not just my words. You wanted my voice. I wanted your closeness. You longed for a response. I longed for your trust. That quiet season was not me turning away, it was me tuning your heart. It was me removing the noise of fear, pride, and pressure until only my presence remained, even if unspoken. You were not ignored. You were being refined. You were non-discarded. You were being deepened. My stillness was the soil where your roots grew stronger, stretching further into the foundation of my faithfulness. If I had answered immediately, you would have leaned on my gifts. But in my silence, you learned to lean on me. Not for what I do, but for who I am. And now, I want you to see it. You are still standing. That quiet time you thought would break you actually built a strength inside that nothing else could have formed. The tears you cried in that season watered seeds you didn't even know were planted. And now, those seeds are breaking through the surface. You're about to see fruit where you thought only barrenness remained. You're about to feel me move in ways that leave no doubt. But this time, your faith will not be shallow. It will be rooted in relationship, not just results. That stillness didn't mean I left you, it meant I trusted you to hold on, even when it felt like nothing was changing. And child, you did. You held on. Maybe with trembling hands, maybe with flickering hope, but you stayed. And for that, I honor you. I am here now, lifting your chin again, reminding you that even when it felt like I wasn't speaking, I was holding your heart with both hands. You are never alone. And you never were. Before you judge yourself too harshly, let me show you what I've always seen in you. My child, I know you've carried guilt like it was a sentence and shame like it was your identity. I've watched you replay your mistakes over and over, thinking they've defined you, thinking they've ruined what I planned for you. But here is my truth even at your lowest. I never looked away in disgust. I never stepped back from you. I moved closer. I drew near, because where you saw a mess, I saw a heart fighting to rise. Beneath the layers of fear, insecurity, and poor choices. I saw something still alive, something glowing, something sacred. I saw beauty, not the beauty of perfection, but the beauty of persistence. I saw your soul gasping for light under the pressure of everything trying to bury it. And I did not give up on you. Not once. Not even when you gave up on yourself. You've called yourself a failure in the quiet, but I call you mine in the heavens. You've let shame define your worth, but I've written your name on my heart with a love that doesn't fade. When you stumbled, I didn't count the falls, I counted the times you got back up. When you wandered, I didn't condemn you, I waited patiently and ran to meet you the moment you turned back. I never stopped believing in what I planted inside of you. You've been looking at yourself through the lens of brokenness, but I've always looked at you through the lens of redemption. That wound you hate, I see it as the doorway where healing will enter. That doubt you tried to hide, I see it as the beginning of a deeper trust we will build together. That failure that keeps haunting you, I see it as the soil where grace will bloom. I never needed you to be flawless. I only needed your heart to remain open. And despite all you've been through, despite the times you wanted to walk away, the times you wondered if I even cared, you've stayed within reach. You've kept searching, even when you didn't understand. You've kept whispering prayers, even when you weren't sure I was listening. That is faith, child. Faith is not loud or polite or pretty. Faith is messy. It is sometimes quiet. Sometimes it trembles. But faith is holding on when nothing makes sense, and that's what you've done. That's why I'm not finished with your story. That's why I've kept breathing life into your lungs every morning. That's why I've surrounded you with mercy again and again. You think your past disqualifies you. I say your past is the very place I'm going to begin my most powerful work. You are not a lost cause. You are not a project I regret. You are not a soul I'm disappointed in. You are the one I came for, bled for, rose again for. And I will never stop reminding you of who you truly are. You are not your failure. You are not your worst moment. You are not the mess you've made, you are the miracle I'm making. That beauty beneath your pain is rising. That purpose underneath your fear is breaking through. That hope that's barely hanging on is about to find breath again. And I'm not just watching from afar, I'm here, in the middle of it, pulling you from the ashes, shaping you in the fire, and calling you forward. You are mine. You always have been. And there's beauty in you this world hasn't even seen yet. But I have. I always have. You've been listening to everything but me, and it's costing you peace that I already gave you. My child, I have not been silent. You've assumed I've gone quiet simply because my voice wasn't louder than the chaos around you. But listen closely, I've been speaking the entire time. The problem was never my absence. It was the volume of the fear surrounding you. The anxiety, the lies, the constant pressure to be more, do more, fix everything on your own. They screamed over the soft truth I've been trying to plant in you. I speak differently than the world. I don't shout above your pain. I speak within it. I don't demand your attention with noise. I draw your heart with peace. But when fear is given a microphone, when worry is given your focus, my whisper feels too faint. It's not that I left you, it's that the storm was loud, and you didn't realize that peace doesn't come from escape. It comes from alignment with me. You've been drowning in thoughts that were never from me. You've been building your life on words I never spoke. You've let fear predict your future, shame define your past, and uncertainty freeze your present. And all along, I've been trying to cut through the static. I've whispered reminders. You are love. You are chosen. You are safe. I'm here. But those whispers were buried under your own doubts, under the world's expectations, under the opinions that you believed carried more weight than my promises. I was speaking truth into your storm, but you mistook the chaos for reality and my whisper for absence. You were searching for me in the noise, but I was calling you to quiet. Not outward quiet, but inward stillness, the kind that silences the lies and lets my voice be the anchor. Let me be clear, I don't expect you to be fearless. I expect you to lean in when fear grows loud. That's when my whisper becomes clearest. That's when my truth slices through the lies like light through fog. I never compete for your attention, child. I wait for your stillness. And even when you didn't make space for me, I made space around you. I shielded you from worse. I kept your mind from unraveling. I surrounded your spirit with my peace even when your thoughts were racing. You don't even know how many times my truth held you when you didn't know it was me. That idea to keep going. That strength you didn't think you had. That clarity that came when you least expected it. Those weren't accidents. That was my whisper finally reaching through. But now, I need your ears to tune to a new frequency. Not the one the world shouts from screens, where your fears echo in the dark. I need you to come back to my word, back to my presence, back to the simplicity of knowing I am still speaking. You don't need a dramatic sign to know I'm with you. You need to trust the whisper that keeps you grounded when everything else feels unstable. That whisper is me. That nudge to forgive, to rest, to try again, to believe for more, to let go. That's not your imagination. That's my spirit gently guiding you home. I will never force you to listen, but I will never stop speaking. I love you too deeply to leave you in confusion. You were never meant to follow fear. You were always designed to respond to my voice. So turn down the volume of panic. Shut off the lies. Step away from the noise. And sit with me. Let me restore your hearing, not with volume but with intimacy. Let me remind you that even in the storm, I've been anchoring you in truth. The truth that says you are not forgotten. The truth that says I am still working. The truth that says peace isn't coming, it's already here, waiting for you to listen again. You've been looking everywhere for what's already standing beside you, me. My dear one, you've searched the sky, the signs, the timing, and even the opinions of others, wondering when I would finally arrive. But child, I never left. I didn't retreat from your pain. I didn't disappear when things became messy, and I certainly didn't require your perfection before drawing near. What I've longed for is your attention, not because my presence depends on it, but because your awareness of me changes everything. I waited not at a distance, but right next to you. I wasn't pacing in heaven, watching from afar. I was there in your silence, in your sighs, in the pauses between your prayers. I leaned in when you pulled away. I remained steady while you spiraled. I never took a step back. But your focus drifted. Life got loud. Pain became your lens. And the distance you felt wasn't created by me stepping away, it formed when you forgot how near I really am. I never needed grand gestures to stay. I've always been content with your gaze, your whispered honesty, your fragile faith turning toward me even if it trembled. The truth is my love doesn't leave room for detachment. I am near to the broken-hearted not as an idea or a feeling, but as a living presence that surrounds, sustains, and saves. But your eyes have wandered to the winds. You've watched waves and wondered why you were sinking. You've allowed your fears to become more familiar than my face. You've looked around, desperate for reassurance, when all you ever needed to do was lift your eyes. I was never behind the chaos, I was the calm inside of it. I didn't abandon you to figure it out alone. I stood in the middle of the storm, extending my hand, waiting for you to look up and recognize me again. You see, child, I don't force my way into your attention. I gently invite your heart back into alignment with mine. And when you finally turn toward me, not out of duty, but out of trust, you'll find that I never move. The moment your heart shifts back to me, clarity returns. The moment your soul lifts its eyes, the fog begins to lift. Because I'm not a God who plays hide and seek with my children. I'm not silent for punishment. I'm patient for purpose. I want connection, not control. I want your nearness, not your performance. I've waited for you not to shame you, but to embrace you. I've waited to restore what distractions tried to steal. I've waited to pour peace back into your restless places. And now, as your focus returns, as your eyes meet mine again, Everything that once felt unstable will find balance. It's time to remember that I am closer than your next breath. You don't need to climb toward me. You only need to lean. I am the vine, and you are the branch. Intimacy was always the design. You've been grasping for security in temporary places, when I've been your unshakable anchor all along. Turn your gaze to me, and you will see that I'm not waiting for you to reach me. I've already wrapped myself around you. Your eyes have the power to shift your reality. What you stare at shapes your soul. So stare at me. Let your gaze rest in my truth. Let your heart settle in my nearness. Let your mind be renewed by my constant, unchanging love. No more wondering, child. No more wondering if I've withdrawn. I am still here, still steady, still speaking. My arms are open not because you finally did something right, but because you're mine. I waited not because I was far, but because I wanted you to see again what's always been true. You are not alone. I am with you, and I've never been more near than right now. This is not the season to figure everything out. This is the moment to lay it all down. My child, you've carried so much for so long, and I've watched you try to hold it all together with your own hands. You've been fighting to keep everything afloat, managing problems, chasing answers, and pushing forward even when your spirit is begging for rest. But listen to me now. Not everything broken is yours to repair. Not every burden you feel is yours to bear. I never called you to fix what only I can heal. You've confused strength with control, and in doing so, you've exhausted your soul. The tight grip you've kept on the outcome, the timing, the people, and the fear of failure, it's strangling your peace. I never asked you to be the hero. I came to be that for you. You were never created to walk this path relying solely on your own understanding. Yet time and again, you've rushed ahead, thinking if you just try harder, plan better, pray louder, or wait longer, things will finally fall into place. But I am not looking for your perfection. I'm looking for your surrender. I'm not moved by how much you can endure. I'm moved by how much you're willing to trust me with what you can't control. And I see how you've tried. I see your heart. I know you meant well. But I also see the weariness behind your smile, the tension behind your strength, the ache behind your silence. That pressure you're feeling, it's not my yoke. It's the weight of doing this alone. And child, it's time to set it down. Let me take what's too heavy for you. Let me step into the places you've been trying to handle without me. You've prayed, yes, but you haven't truly released. You've cried out, but then picked it back up the moment the tears dried. Surrender isn't giving up, it's getting over. And that's what I'm asking of you now. I want the parts you don't know what to do with. I want the chapters you don't want to read out loud. I want the plans you're gripping too tightly, the fears you hide behind busy schedules, the regrets that play on loop in your mind. I want all of it, not to punish you but to free you. You think surrender is weakness, but it is your greatest access to my strength. When you stop striving, you make room for me to move. When you loosen your hold, my hands can begin to build what your striving has only delayed. I won't force you. I won't wrestle the burdens from your hands. But I will stand right beside you until you finally decide that your peace is more important than your pride. I am patient. I am gentle. But I am also the only one who can do what you've been trying to accomplish on your own. So pause, breathe, and listen. This is your invitation to rest in me. This is the moment where you stop proving and start receiving. I'm not asking for your strategy, I'm asking for your trust. I don't need your solutions, I need your surrender. I've already gone ahead of you. I've already prepared what you've been stressing about. I've already aligned what you haven't even considered yet. But none of it can unfold until you release control. Open your hands, child. Let go. Let me lift the weight that was never yours to carry. Let me quiet the war that's been raging in your mind. Let me remind you that your strength was never the requirement, your surrender was always the key. That isolation you hated so much wasn't rejection, it was me, making room for something deeper. My beloved, I know how much the loneliness hurt. I saw you reach for companionship and come back with empty hands. I heard the questions you didn't dare ask out loud. Why has everyone disappeared? Why does it feel like no one understands? You looked at your solitude and thought you had done something wrong, as if I was withholding love or community as a consequence. But child, hear me now, your loneliness was not punishment. It was not the result of being forgotten. It was not a reflection of your value. It was a sacred pause, a divine stripping away of the noise that had been drowning out my presence. You had so many voices shaping your view, so many distractions influencing your heart, so many opinions overshadowing my truth. So I allowed the quiet. I allowed the separation, not to harm you but to heal the places that were growing dependent on everything but me. In that emptiness, I was not absent, I was refining your awareness. I was giving you space to hear me with clarity. And while you were asking for connection, I was drawing your soul into communion. The difference is eternal. People can be near, but still not see you. They can surround you, yet never touch your core. But I've always known the places that others couldn't reach. I've always seen the longings no one else could satisfy. So I allowed the silence, not because I wanted to isolate you, but because I wanted to introduce you to the sound of my whisper, the depth of my comfort, the power of my presence. If you had stayed surrounded by the noise, you would have missed the whisper that changes everything. This season wasn't about abandonment. It was about awareness. When everyone else faded, you began to notice the subtle ways I was still speaking. A verse that came alive, a sunrise that calmed your soul, a gentle nudge to keep going, that was me. That clarity, that peace, that new strength you didn't even know was growing inside you, it was planted in the quiet. You thought the loneliness was wasting time, but it was watering the very roots of your future. It taught you to stand with me before standing with crowds. It trained your ears to hear me, not just to hear about me. It built a relationship that isn't shaken by absence, because it's built on presence mine. I want you to know this. The wilderness was not the end. It was the beginning. What felt like lack was actually making space. Space for vision. Space for healing. Space for you to learn that your identity isn't tied to who notices you, but to the one who created you. You were never overlooked. I had my eyes on you the whole time. I was shaping you with purpose. You just couldn't see it yet. But now your spirit is different. You no longer chase empty validation. You no longer depend on shallow approval. You found me in the quiet, and that has changed everything. And now I'm bringing you into a new season. One where connection flows from wholeness, not neediness. One where the people I bring into your life will not distract you from me, but walk beside you in me. One where your voice will carry weight, because it has been formed in stillness. You have been prepared not just to hear me, but to represent me. And it started in the very place you thought would break you. Your loneliness. What felt like silence was actually my strategy. What felt like isolation was actually revelation. And now, you will never mistake the crowd for comfort again, because you've met comfort himself. You are not alone. You never were. I've just been training you to listen differently. What you thought was rejection was actually my rescue disguised in silence. My child, you cried out asking why certain doors never opened, why some people walked away without explanation, why opportunities you prayed for seemed to vanish just as you were about to step in. You felt the sting of unanswered questions, and your heart began to ache with the lie that you were forgotten. But listen to me now, you were not abandoned. What looked like delay, what felt like loss, what seemed like being left behind was actually my intervention, not my neglect. I removed you from paths that would have harmed you. I routed you from relationships that would have drained your soul. I blocked doors that would have led to destruction masked as success. You didn't know what waited behind them, but I did. You saw a missed opportunity, I saw a hidden trap. You felt left out, I was pulling you aside to keep you whole. You see, my protection doesn't always feel like comfort. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like standing in a hallway where every door is locked and every step forward feels like quicksand. But even then, I was active. I was shielding you with my unseen hand, intercepting what the enemy tried to send your way, turning what was meant to break you into something that strengthened your trust. You may never know what I kept from crossing your path. You may not see the dangers I dismantled behind the curtain. But one day, you'll thank me for the closed doors that saved your life. One day, you'll look back and realize that every delay was divine, every detour was strategic, and every no was wrapped in fierce love. You've been thinking I left you in moments where everything fell apart. But it was in those very moments I was closest. I was the one steadying your hands when everything shook. I was the voice you couldn't hear yet, guiding your spirit away from disaster. You wanted things to happen your way, but I've been writing a better story, one that doesn't just look good, but is good, through and through. I know you've grieved what you thought you lost. I've seen your tears over things that felt stolen from you. But child, what if what you lost was actually never meant for you? What if the ending your mourning was actually me beginning something far greater? What if you've been weeping over what I removed to make room for what's holy? I never overlooked you. I strategically covered you. I built a hedge around you when you didn't even know you needed one. And though it felt lonely at times, that covering preserved your calling. That protection sustained your purpose. Not everything that's taken from you is a loss. Some things are divine subtractions, removing what could have taken you off course before you even reached the starting line. That person you thought was your forever, I saw what you couldn't see in their heart. A job you were certain would fix everything. I knew the pressure it would place on your soul. That opportunity that disappeared just before you touched it. I saw how it would have pulled you away from me, little by little, until your heart forgot what home felt like. So no, you have not been forsaken. You've been fiercely guarded. And that's why you're still standing. That's why you didn't fall apart beyond repair. That's why your hope, though shaken, still has roots. I protected you not because you asked perfectly, but because you belong to me. And I always take care of what's mine. I know what you need, and I know what will hurt you. And even when you beg me for something that looks right, if it's not right for you, I'll say no with tears in my eyes and love in my voice. Because I am not here to please you, I'm here to protect you. And I will never stop doing that. Trust me again, child. What felt like abandonment was actually an answer. And what felt like being forgotten was me hiding you in the cleft of my presence until the danger passed. You were never left behind. You were hidden for your good, for your growth, and for your future. Before you believe I said no, pause. What if I was saying not this because I've prepared something better? My child, I know the ache that settles in your chest when the things you prayed for didn't happen the way you hoped. I felt the weight in your voice when you whispered, "Why not this, Lord? Why not now?" You waited. You believed. You asked with a sincere heart. And when the outcome didn't reflect your faith, you quietly wondered if I ignored you. But today, I need you to hear the truth that has been buried beneath your disappointment. I never rejected you, I redirected you. Every prayer you thought went unanswered was folded into a bigger plan. Not forgotten, not overlooked. Redirected because I saw what you couldn't. You were asking from a limited view. I was responding from eternal clarity. You wanted something good, but I had something better. You prayed for open doors, and I prepared open heavens. You asked me to remove the pain, and I began writing purpose through it. What you called delay, I called preparation. What you feared was denial, I was using as divine positioning. When you begged me to fix one area, I was already repairing the deeper layers, the ones you hadn't even spoken of yet. You only saw one thread of the tapestry, but I saw the masterpiece being woven behind the scenes. I wasn't being silent, I was being strategic. If I had said yes to everything you thought you needed, you would have missed the greater fulfillment waiting on the other side of surrender. You see, I care more about your becoming than your convenience. I am more invested in your transformation than your timeline. I don't withhold out of cruelty. I withhold to cultivate what's real, what lasts, what reflects my glory. You've asked me to move mountains, but sometimes I've been more focused on moving what's within you, the fears, the wounds, the dependence on outcomes. You've asked me for signs, but I've been more concerned with growing your sight. Because what good is the miracle if your heart still lives in yesterday's brokenness? What good is the blessing if it comes before the roots are deep enough to hold it? I've watched you question me when things didn't work out. I've seen you pull back in confusion, wondering if maybe you weren't worthy enough to receive what you desired. But I want you to release that lie. This was never about your worthiness, it's always been about alignment with my will. And my will isn't cruel. It isn't careless. It's careful. It's full of mercy, saturated with wisdom, and wrapped in a love that will always seek your highest good even when you don't recognize it in the moment. What felt like the end was me rerouting you to something more fitting, more fruitful, more lasting. And now I ask you, can you trust me with what didn't happen? Can you surrender the picture you painted to receive the promise I've prepared? Can you believe that my no wasn't the closing of your story but the redirection toward the chapter where everything finally makes sense? I didn't let you down, I lifted you above what would have limited you. I didn't leave your request unanswered, I answered it differently, in a way that protects your purpose. Even the silence had a sound, it was me, composing a breakthrough in a frequency your ears hadn't tuned into yet. So take heart. What you lost was never the limit of my ability. What didn't happen wasn't the end of the plan. I'm still unfolding things you prayed for years ago. I'm still honoring the faith you planted with tears. I'm still orchestrating, still aligning, still proving that I work all things together for good, even the things that looked like disappointment. What seemed unanswered was simply unseen. And now, as you keep walking, you will start to recognize that every step forward was built on the foundation of prayers I was answering in my way, in my time, for your ultimate good. I didn't reject you, I loved you too much to give you less than the fullness I designed. You thought you had to earn my covering, but I sent my angels before you ever knew you were in danger. My child, you've walked through places that should have shattered you. You've survived moments that left unseen scars. And many times, you chalked it up to luck or coincidence. But today, I want to pull back the veil and show you the truth. You were never unguarded. While you were questioning your value, wondering if you were too flawed for my favor, I had already stationed angels around you. You saw danger. I saw deliverance. You felt alone, but my heavenly army was already on watch. And not because you earned it. Not because you always got it right. But because you're mine. And I protect what I love. You felt too broken to be worth saving, too far gone to be worth covering. But I don't operate like the world. I don't hand out grace like a reward, I pour it out as a promise. And protection has never been about your perfection, it's about my covenant with you. When you stumbled, my angels didn't retreat. When you rebelled, I didn't call them off. Instead, I sent them closer. Closer to surround, to shield, to stand in the gap when you were too weary to pray, too confused to discern the threats, too wounded to recognize the traps ahead. There were moments when destruction was inches away, and you never saw it, because my messengers were already blocking the path. I saw every hidden scheme, every assignment against you, every lie whispered to derail your calling, and I responded before you even knew there was a battle. I sent warriors in the spirit to guard your peace, your sleep, your destiny. That moment you felt an unexplainable shift in your atmosphere. That sudden urge to leave a place, call someone, or pause before making a decision. That wasn't just instinct, that was my divine intervention. My angels have walked with you through fire, through betrayal, through despair, through spiritual ambushes meant to destroy your faith. And they didn't just observe, they warred for you. Silently, faithfully, constantly. You've assumed that because you didn't see me move, I wasn't moving. But child, you are still alive because I was actively covering you when you couldn't even cover yourself. Not once did I let your enemies get the final say. Not once did I abandon you to figure things out on your own. I surrounded you with a presence so strong that even hell had to step back. And I continue to do so, not because of what you do, but because of who you are to me. You are chosen. You are treasured, and I will never stop assigning angels to fight for you. There is more going on around you than you can comprehend. The spiritual realm is not fantasy, it is real, and you are not unarmed in it. You are covered. Your home is covered. Your future is covered. I've placed warriors at your windows, at your doors, at the crossroads of every decision you make. And when you feel overwhelmed, when it seems like darkness is pressing, and know this: you are not outnumbered. You are not unprotected. You are not forgotten. My angels encamp around those who fear me, and my love casts out every fear that tries to paralyze you. You don't need to feel worthy to receive what I've already declared over you. My mercy is not based on your merit, it's grounded in my nature. I am a God who rescues, a Father who shields, a King who commands armies not for show, but for you. I have appointed unseen hands to carry you through moments you didn't even realize were spiritual warfare. And still, I go beyond angels. I gave you my spirit. I gave you my name. I gave you access to authority that shakes the very gates of hell. So walk boldly, not because you're strong, but because you're surrounded. Stand tall, not because you're fearless, but because you're defended. Rest deeply, not because all is perfect, but because I've stationed protection that never sleeps. So lift your head. You are not exposed. You are not vulnerable to every attack. You are shielded by divine command. And nothing can touch you without first passing through the permission of the one who gave everything to call you his. You are covered, even when you don't feel it. Because I place my angels on assignment just for you. Just because you don't feel me doesn't mean I've disappeared. I'm closer than you realize, even in the silence. My beloved, there have been moments, many, in fact, where you've whispered to yourself, I don't feel God anymore. You sat in rooms filled with people, worshipped with hands raised, cried in secret places, and still felt like I was distant, detached, silent. But I need you to understand something right now. My presence is not dependent on your feelings. I am not like the shifting wind. I do not come and go based on your mood, your emotions, your victories, or your failures. I am constant. I am present. And I surround you, even when your senses are too overwhelmed to recognize me. Your emotions are powerful, but they are not always accurate. They rise and fall with your circumstances. They are shaped by memory, pressure, fatigue, and fear. And sometimes, when your emotions are frayed, they try to convince you that I've walked away. But I haven't. I didn't leave when your joy faded. I didn't retreat when anxiety crept in. I didn't walk out the moment your confidence shattered. In fact, those were the very times I move even closer. My presence isn't proved by goosebumps or visible signs, it is evidenced by endurance, peace in the middle of confusion, and strength that appears when you've run out of your own. You've mistaken my silence for distance, but child, I've been wrapping my presence around you like a shield the entire time. Even now, while your heart is asking, where are you, Lord? I'm here. I'm in the room. I'm in your breath. I'm in your steps. I'm in the quiet thoughts you never speak aloud. You are encompassed by me. There has not been a single second that I've left you uncovered. When you walk through difficulty and it feels like no one sees the full extent of your battle, I do. I not only see it, I step into it with you. I walk through fire with you. I sit in the darkness with you. I am not a distant God calling you to figure it out from afar. I am Emmanuel, God with you. Not sometimes. Always. The issue isn't whether I'm with you, it's whether you've been trained to recognize me beyond emotion. You've tied my presence to visible proof, but I want to anchor you in truth that stands even when your feelings don't align. My word says I will never leave you nor forsake you, and I meant it. That means even on your worst day, I am still near. Even when you feel numb, I am actively loving you. Even when tears blur your vision, I am holding the pieces of your heart with infinite care. When you feel surrounded by pressure, stress, and uncertainty, I need you to pause and remember you are more surrounded by me than by anything else. If only you could see what surrounds you in the spirit. If your eyes were opened for just a moment, you would fall to your knees in awe not of your problem, but of the glory that hovers over your life. Angels encircle you. My spirit fills you. My love envelops you. You may feel like you're standing alone, but you're standing in a place saturated with me. Every breath you take is a reminder that I'm sustaining you. Every morning you rise is proof that I'm still working. And even when your heart is tired, I am still breathing life into your soul. So don't let your emotions have the final word. They're real, yes, but they don't define reality. My truth does. And the truth is, I am here. I've always been here. Not a day, not a second, not a heartbeat of your life has passed without me being intimately near. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are surrounded by my presence, my power, and my unrelenting love. And nothing, not feelings, not fear, not failure can separate you from me. You don't have to be strong right now. I am already holding you tighter than the weight that's trying to break you. My beloved, I see the part of you that's barely hanging on, the tired version of you that wears a smile for others but weeps when no one's watching. You've tried to stay strong, tried to act like you're okay, but deep down, you're exhausted. It's not just physical tiredness, it's soul-deep, spirit-heavy weariness that has settled into your bones. You've been carrying burdens too heavy for one heart, fighting battles no one knows you're in, holding up others, while secretly falling apart inside. But listen closely, you don't have to carry this alone anymore. I will carry you now. You were never designed to bear the full weight of this journey on your own. I never expected you to walk through fire with a forced smile or to climb mountains using only your strength. That's why I've stepped in not as a silent observer but as a loving savior. I'm not asking you to try harder. I'm inviting you to lean into me completely. Collapse if you must. Let your tears fall. Let your breath tremble. I'm not afraid of your weakness. I'm not disappointed in your need. I delight in your surrender, because that's where I can finally do what I've longed to do, carry you. I'm not waiting for you to prove you're strong enough. I'm not holding back until you get it all together. I'm already holding you, steadying you, lifting what you can no longer manage. You think the world will crumble if you let go, but letting go is the very act that will allow me to step fully into your chaos and begin restoring what's been slowly breaking inside you. You won't fall because I'm under you. You won't fail because my arms never tire. And even in your lowest valley, I am still enough for you. I'm enough for the pain you don't talk about. I'm enough for the pressure that's silently suffocating your joy. I'm enough for the confusion that clouds your faith. I am your enough. And when the time comes, when your soul begins to find its strength again, when your steps no longer shake, I will still be here, not just as the one who carried you, but as the one who walks beside you. Because even when you feel able again, I will not release my grip. I don't just carry you through the crisis. I stay for the recovery. I don't just rescue, I remain. And you'll find that even when your strength returns, you won't want to walk without my hand anymore. Because what was born in the breaking was intimacy, and what grew in the heaviness was trust. I know how hard it is for you to feel dependent. You've been told your value is in your performance, that your worth is proven by what you accomplish. But I never asked you to impress me, I asked you to abide in me. Rest is not failure. Weakness is not defeat. When you let me carry you, you are not quitting, you are finally stepping into the rhythm of grace. That rhythm says you are loved even when you're still. That rhythm says you are protected even when you pause. That rhythm says your pace doesn't change my presence. So breathe now, child. Let me hold what you've been holding alone for too long. Let me carry the load. Let me be your strength when yours is gone. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not waiting for you to bounce back. I'm here to carry you through until your soul remembers what peace feels like, until your heart stops bracing for the next hit, until your feet can move forward again, not because they must, but because they want to. And even then, when you can stand tall once more, I will still be holding your hand. Because I'm not just the God who carries, you'll discover I'm also the friend who never lets go. Amen.